Shinra is your average nutcase, born with a devil's smile. His life changes when a mysterious demon burns down his whole house along with his family, leaving him responsible for the tragedy. Eventually, Shinra awakens his own devil powers and decides to take revenge. However, before any of this, a random guy on the train suddenly bursts into flames and the whole train station evacuates except Shinra. The train strolls ahead after detaching from the burning trolley, and he smiles like a creep at the burning monster that comes out of the trolley. The newly formed Special Fire Force Company 8 arrives, and the captain tells the blonde babe to start praying. She begins reciting the prayers, and the rest of the members swiftly deal with the monster. Shinra is in awe, but notices that a light is about to fall and the nun and flames come out of his feet as he flies like Iron Man to save the sister. He reveals to them that he is the third-generation fire soldier that was assigned to the 8th Company. As the captain looks at Shinra's footprints, he calls them Devil's Footprints. They all arrive at Company 8's cathedral, and the captain introduces himself as a Kitaru Obi, while the cold-looking lieutenant introduces himself as Tekisa Hinowa. Obi looks at Shinra's resume and asks him why he is smiling in the picture. Shinra answers that his body tends to smile when he gets nervous, so Obi tests him and finds him very adorable. He asks Shinra why he joined the Fire Force, and Shinra says the cringiest thing he can buy, answering he wants to be a hero. Hinowa reveals that Shinra was called a devil and questions if he is just a delinquent trying to get a good reputation. Meanwhile, in the shower, Maki asks the sister, who is called Iris, how she felt getting when Shinra carried her like a princess. They come to the office and joke around but get scared when Hinowa breaks his pen on the clipboard. Maki tells Shinra that she adjusted his pants to match with his abilities, but Shinra is only focused on how good she smells. Obi tries to tease him about his creepy actions, but Hinowa's clipboard flies past them into the wall. Obi starts explaining about spontaneous human combustion, which can occur anytime, anywhere, and that the phenomenon started out of nowhere when people all over the world suddenly began to catch fire. The first generation of victims turn into monsters called Infernals and continues to wreak havoc until the core and their hearts are destroyed, and they're put to rest. He adds that the Fire Force's mission is to deal with these Infernals and also to find the cause of human combustion. Shinra lays down in his dorm and recalls memories of his childhood, but suddenly the alarm goes off. Maki tells him to get ready as an Infernal has appeared. The whole company suits up and they head out in their special ugly-looking vehicle called Matchbox. They arrive at the scene where the factory manager requests Iris to put his wife to rest, and then head inside, and Shinra tenses up after getting flashbacks. Obi gives him a speech of wisdom while Maki steps forward and uses her powers to disperse the flames. The flame then gathers behind Shinra, and an Infernal emerges from it, immediately attacking Shinra and throwing him into a metal pipe. He starts recalling how his mother burned in front of him and people mocked him for being a devil due to his smile. He also recalls that someone else was there except his mom and his little brother, Shu. Hinowa wakes Shinra up, and Obi tells Shinra to give Infernal the final blow while they distract it. Hinowa shoots at it from afar while Obi and Maki engage with the Infernal in close combat. Shinra thinks about how he promised his mom that he will be a hero, which gives him motivation, and he gathers his energy. He leaps towards the Infernal while recalling how he was mocked his whole life and starts fighting against the Infernal. He lands a 360 kick on the Infernal and flames burst from his foot, which destroys the Infernal's core. Company 8 comes out to the people's cheers, and Obi tells Shinra that he has taken his first step towards being a hero. Arthur Boyle arrives at Company 8 Second's cathedral with a sword hilt sticking out of his backpack and the exaggerated confidence of a third-class prince. Obi informs Shinra about the upcoming Rookie Fire Games, which he will attend along with a new recruit. Shinra is well aware of who that is when Arthur and him clash paths in the hallway. He knows Arthur from training academy days, and they disagree on everything since devils usually don't get along well with knights but are stuck with each other for the games. Maki and Iris lounge on the rooftop where Maki plays around with fire. As a second-generation pyrokinetic, she can manipulate flames, whereas Shinra is third-generation, meaning he can create his own flames. Shinra and Arthur burst out into the rooftop and start bickering like 2 years olds, where Shinra insists that heroes are better than knights, but Arthur thinks that opposite and sees himself as the Night King. Hinowa then meets them and discusses how Arthur's sword does not have an actual blade, but instead he can create a plasma sword. He asks Maki to take Arthur and Shinra on as a practice match. Maki, being an ex-soldier, gains the upper hand, knocking Shinra off the roof. She turns to Arthur, but she cannot control this plasma sword named Excalibur. Despite that, she subdues him because of his lack in combat, and Arthur gets the sweet taste of a hard knee to the face, which knocks him down. Insulted at being called an ogre by the two rivals, she manipulates the flames of Shinra's feet and Arthur's Excalibur and forms a giant fireball, making the boys surrender. Company 8 heads toward an infernal after the alarm rings. Since the job is inside a house, Obi gives Shinra a Type 7 axe and orders him and Arthur to hide their weapons from the crowd. The boys disobey his order as soon as they arrive on the scene and are taken aside by Obi. He asks why they disobey his orders, and they reply that there is no such rule and regulation. Thus comes the Yap essay where Obi lectures them that fire soldiers put burnt souls to rest and they must keep the family in mind. He explains that it's someone's loved one who bursts into flames and they aren't barbarians but are peacekeepers. Flames come out from the house, which then form a smirk. Feeling taunted, Captain Obama leads Company 8, but they find the Infernal sitting quietly inside. As they realize that the Infernal is suppressing immense pain, Arthur destroys the core with his Excalibur and finally ends the man's suffering. They then pray for the victim and ash pours in from the ceiling, exploding like firecrackers. This caused parts of the roof to collapse on them, but Obi blasts the rubble off using his gorilla-like strength. Meanwhile, outside, a man in a top hat manipulates smoke to spell Joker and is intrigued by the little prank he just pulled inside. Company 8 suspects foul play, and Obi resolves to catch whoever was responsible. Afterwards, Obi gives the child of the father the picture of their family that he saved from the house. He tells her that his father bravely faced the flames head-on and protected her from them. Later that night, Shinra and Arthur have trouble sleeping due to what happened, but they console each other in their own rainbow way. Having learned more about the responsibilities of being in the fire force, Joker keeps listening to his doctors yapping who is the person that makes his ash. They talk about Company 8 and how they are different from the rest. The next day, the rookie games begin where Shinra meets Tamaki Kotatsu, a fellow third-generation pyrokinetic who is not shy to show off her plot. Maki takes the boys to meet the Fire Defense Agency's mascots, one of them being a regular person named Mamoru. The doctor from before is also in the stands and he watches what Shinra does like a creep. Shinra is surprised to see the person who saved him from the fire he suffered as a child. He goes and asks him if he remembers anything about what happened during the fire 12 years ago. Captain Burns of the Company 1 replies that he puts out many fires during the day, hence he can't remember something so specific and tells him to go join the competitors, but Shinra finds his reply just a little sus. The rules of the game get announced that every participant must take part in a simulation of the fire scene and reach the fake infernal. Everyone runs as soon as the whistle blows, but Shinra stays behind, all relaxed. He quickly advances past them, thanks to his flying powers, and reaches the top. Inside, Shinra encounters Joker, who had previously orchestrated the attack against his team. He notices that Joker has already knocked out the crewman, while Joker asks Shinra whether he wants to know what actually happened to his family 12 years ago. Joker threatens to take the lives of the crewmates to get his attention, which provokes Shinra's anger, and he lunges at him. Joker easily dodges him and then activates some special ashes he had stored in a little jar which explode in Shinra's face. The villain takes advantage of this opportunity to attack Shinra and knocks him down. Seemingly impressed with his strength, Joker decides to reveal a piece of the puzzle. He shockingly reveals that Shinra's brother Sho is still alive somewhere. He then makes it clear that he must stop pretending to be a cringe hero if he wants to know the truth and become the devil like he is destined to be. Arthur arrives to join the party, but Tamaki lands on top of him. He tells her to get that stinky bum off her, and they join the battle against Joker. Arthur repeatedly attacks him with his sword, but he dodges everything with ease, including Tamaki's fire ability. Joker gets bored of the situation since Shinra has no plans to join him and releases all of his ash in the building just before he disappears into thin air. Just as the ash is about to blow, Shinra tells Arthur to cut through the ceiling, and Tamaki puts the cherry on top by blasting open a hole after Arthur cuts the roof. Just then, Shinra escapes from the place using his jetpack joyride boots. While carrying the crewman Tamaki and Shinra, the fire gets put out and burns. Thanks Shinra for saving his student Tamaki. Later that night, Shinra asks Obi about the truth regarding Fire Force, so he reveals the controlling bodies behind the Fire Force and how each company keeps information to itself. He tells him that Company 8 was founded to conduct an internal investigation on Company 1 to Company 7. A sadistic-looking chick who is actually the 5th company's leader, called Princess Hibana, gets notified about an Infernal's presence in Company 8's territory, so she orders her minions to head for the Infernal. Hinowa reveals to Obi and Shinra that the analysis on the ashes used by Joker is complete and that the ashes are actually infernal ashes. Meanwhile, Shinra and Arthur waste their time doing some office paperwork beside Maki. Maki tells the both of them to rescue a dog from a tree and explains that although the job is meant for the firefighters, their office also mistakenly gets a lot of their calls. To get away from the paperwork, they both head to rescue the dog, but on arriving at the place, they discover Mamoru stuck in the tree. Shinra rescues Mamoru, who tells the both of them that he was chased on the tree by some high schoolers, and that since the incident with Miyamoto, where a firefighter called Miyamoto turned into Ted Bundy and killed many civilians, there's been a lot of backlash against the Fire Defense Agency. In the ongoing Miyamoto's court session, the judge declares Miyamoto innocent due to psychiatric reason. Miyamoto thinks to himself that, of course, a firefighter like himself can never be true charged of a crime other than being charged of ugliness. But just then, he combusts and turns into an infernal. He declares that he will kill everyone, and as everyone rushes out to get away from him, he jumps on the judge and chokes him to death. Company 8 prepares to head out to tame the infernal, and when Obi asks Maki where Shinra and Arthur are, she doesn't tell him anything. In shame, Hibana becomes even crazier when she learns that the infernal has retained his sense of self, so she tells her staff that she wants the infernal more than ever. As Company 8 heads to the infernal site, Obi declares to the public that he will punish Arthur and Shinra for bunking on their duties, and the both of them rush to the site on hearing this. Meanwhile, as Miyamoto is yapping to his lawyer about killing him, Shinra and Arthur arrive on the scene and start to beat him up. The other Company 8 members arrive as well, and Miyamoto tells them that he is surrendering. Hinawa shoots at him, so he runs away, and Obi orders Shinra to go after him. Shinra feels like a sissy for going after someone with a sense of self, and Hinawa advises him to not listen to Miyamoto. As Miyamoto lands in a street, Shinra follows him and then kicks him to oblivion. Miyamoto throws a car at him, which Shinra kicks back at him, making Miyamoto realize that Shinra is the real shit. Miyamoto then begs Shinra to not kill him till his sister arrives, and when Shinra backs down, he attacks him again. Shinra kicks away his arm in defense, but just then, Hibana jumps between them and tells Shinra that Company 5 is taking care of the infernal. Her staff captures Miyamoto, and when she uses her powers, Shinra also falls down. Her staff apprehends Shinra, but Shinra soon blows them off with his fire and challenges them to a fight. As things start to get steamy, Company 8 arrives on the scene and the fight gets called off. Hibana reminds Obi that since Company 8 doesn't have a science team, their company is taking the infernal to unveil the human combustion mystery, to which Obi agrees. A Company 5's fighter called Kishiri also disses Obi, but quickly gets confronted by Shinra and Arthur before leaving. She also warns him not to stick his nose too deep in the matters. Iris kneels beside a fountain and recalls how she grew up with Hibana as his sister when she was a child. Shinra comes across her and asks her whether anything is troubling her, but she just thanks him and walks away. A Company 8 meeting is called, where Obi, looking like a circus clown, informs the others that they are going to investigate Company 5, since they seem very sus. Hinawa starts to explain their objective, but when he notices all the others yapping among themselves, he warns them to shut up and even takes out a gun. He then shoots at Shinra's leg, but Shinra doesn't get hurt much, which leads Maki to explain that Hinawa is a second generation just like her who can manipulate flames. She elaborates that Hinawa weakened the gunpowder's explosive force before the bullet hit Shinra, and Hinawa tells them they need to train more since they may be going against second or third generation people rather than the Infernals. Maki and Arthur train with each other, while Hinawa tells Shinra that Hibana came out of nowhere to become the company's captain by selling her illegal research material on Infernals, and soon they themselves will have to use violence to get that data. Meanwhile, Hibana seems to be getting off as she tortures Miyamoto and keeps laughing even when Miyamoto bursts into flames. Iris prays at the cathedral, while Shinra wonders what could be troubling her. He asks Arthur whether he knows what may be wrong with Iris, and just then Maki barges in and informs them that Iris is missing. Iris heads to the Company 5's building and meets up with Hibana. She preaches to her that she is defying their god by indulging in corrupt research, and this triggers Hibana, so she burns her clothes. Hibana then declares that their god is a non-existent puppet, and that now she will use her to lure the Company 8 into crush them. Shinra lands at the Company 5 premises while the others also rush to save Iris. Hinawa tells Maki that they can easily barge, and since Company 5 itself indulges in illegal research and won't be filing any reports, they all arrive at the Company 5's building, and on Hinawa's order, Shinra rushes to save Iris. Hinawa and Arthur give him back up and attack the others. When all the fighters are down, Hinawa tells Maki to pound their bums till they reveal something. Meanwhile, Arthur comes across a cone-head-looking old fighter, and Miyamoto also appears behind him. Conehead informs Arthur that he has boosted the Infernal's firepower by giving him some cracked powder. Kishiri sends a bubblegum balloon towards Hinawa and Maki, which explodes near them. He blows flammable gas into the gum, which explodes when it comes into contact with oxygen, and with this technique he keeps throwing bubbles and attacking Hinawa and Maki. Hinowa shoots bullet at Kishiri's location, and using his powers, he directs the bullet's trajectory so that they all end up hitting Kishiri. A trio of looking like a cheap copy of Powerpuff Girls comes to stop Hinowa next. Meanwhile, Miyamoto shoots fire at Arthur, which he dodges swiftly, and they both butt heads to attack each other. Hibana orders all the Company 8 members to be barbecued. While Miyamoto keeps beating the crap out of Arthur, he realizes that he was holding his sword in the wrong hand and switching his sword. He attacks Miyamoto and obliterates him. Hinowa and Maki also finish off the trio and decide to search for the research document. Shinra searches for Iris and wonders how he's going to fight off Hibana's powers. The trio attack him, but being the Sigma that he is, he knocks them down instantly. Hibana tells Iris to pray to her god to save her comrades and even reveals that her third-generation powers manifested when all the sisters and the church got burned up in the past. When Iris tells her that she will never achieve happiness this way, she tells her to shut her yapping mouth, and just then Shinra arrives and declares that the hero has come to save the day. He rushes at her, but suddenly falls to the ground again. She steps on his head and reveals that her heat Senko power is heating his blood, due to which less blood is flowing to his brain and is making him lightheaded. He gets up somehow and tells her she's Delulu because of all her beliefs, which enraged her. She throws fire flowers at him, and he runs at her through the fire but suddenly loses balance and falls to the ground again. She then summons up a Sakura tree whose petals burn Shinra's skin and tells Iris to pray uselessly to her non-existent goddess. Iris reminds her that they used to pray to the god together, and Hibana recalls how all of her sisters burned and got toasted. While she and Iris survive, Shinra realizes that Hibana is also the victim of the flames just like him, and Hibana throws a blizzard attack at him, which hurts him greatly. He still manages to get up and tells her that he won't back down anymore for her sake. He then rushes at her and punches her, which shuts her mouth up for good. In the past, Hibana conjures up floating flowers for all the sisters for their new, and also drops some chemicals on the flowers to change their colors. The other sisters tell her they want to be like her since she can control fire and also have interest in science. She then calls Iris to her side as well, which makes Iris really happy. Soon on the head sister's order, everyone starts to head inside the chapel, and Iris asks Hibana whether she can show her the flowers again, to which she agrees. When they reach the chapel, they discover all the sisters engulfed in flames looking like chicken skewers, which made Hibana abandon her faith, and she throws her cross away. Later, Hibana decides to become the devil herself and leaves the convent to exploit everyone and everything. She then sells her research to the scientists in exchange for the position of a captain and funding to carry on her experiments. Hibana wakes in Iris's lap, and Iris tells her that everybody used to look up to her since she was their hero. Shinra declares that she should call out to him whenever she needs help since he is her hero, which embarrasses her. On Iris' request, she conjures up Iris flowers for her, and Iris confesses she loves her. Outside, all the Company 5 fighters lie around knocked up by Hinowa, and Iris suggests that they can lie and say both the companies are having a rogue dinner party, which doesn't sound like a sisterly suggestion. Hibana declares that she's going to say she asked the Company 8 to stage a surprise drill, and even comments that she now likes Shinra, which surprises everybody. The Company 1 top fighters meet up to discuss the joint training of Company 5 and Company 8, and their captain Burns comments that OB must be making his move. Both the companies meet up together for a party where Hinowa makes food for the others, while Hibana feeds Shinra some food. Obi thanks everyone for letting his weak company join the training, and they all have fun. Later, Hibana tells Obi that she will fully cooperate with Company 8, and that with their current powers, they cannot face Hajime Industries head-on. She tells him although she was consumed by the flames, Shinra reminded her of the tenderness of the flames and became her hero. She then goes on to reveal the result of her experiments, that although human combustion is a natural process, there is also someone who's causing the human combustion deliberately by turning humans into barbecued skewers. Since both their goals align now, she reveals that the turned infernals seem to appear more around Shinjuku District, which falls under Company 1's jurisdiction. Later, she joins Iris and Maki during a shower. She then tells her they may be going into a war against the Company 1. Soon, to infiltrate the Company 1, Obi decides to send Shinra and Arthur as a part of Riki's reassignment training system and instructs them to find any leads about the person who may be creating the artificial infernal. Maki leads them both to the Holy Sol Obelisk, where they are joined by Kishiri from Company 5 and Takeru from Company 2. Inside, they come across a Company 1 fighter called Karim, who seems to be a retard. Flam leads the all to the Grand Cathedral, where Burns greets them. He tells them to relax for the day, and when Shinra asks him to spar with the rookies to assess their abilities, he agrees and tells his Lieutenant Rekka to spar with them. Ome worries for his impulsive juniors, while Tamaki rushes to the training ground to witness the match. On Burns' instructions, Rekka faces Takeru first and makes fireballs appear around Takeru, which scares him. Takeru pleads like a loser that he can't bear the fire, and when Rekka doesn't listen to him, he converts the fire into missiles and launches them towards Rekka. Rekka dodges the missiles effortlessly, and Kareem steps behind him to stop the missiles. He rings a bell that makes the missiles disappear and then rings it again, which releases smoke from missiles and converts it into ice. Takeru craps his pants when he sees Tamaki lurking nearby, while Kareem explains that he uses thermoacoustic cooling technique to convert the flames into sound and then ice. Burns orders Lieutenant Toru to go next, but he refuses to fight since he's a whining loser. Kachiri also declines to fight, and Burns decides to fight Shinra and Arthur together since he loves bullying kids as a hobby. Arthur rushes first at Burns with his Excalibur, but Burns blocks his sword with his bare arm and sends him flying back. This shocks everyone, and Shinra rushes next at Burns to kick him. He keeps coming at him, but Burns simply blocks his attacks with his bare hands. He kicks his chest, which doesn't move him, and when Burns asks him why he wants to fight, he starts yapping as usual about becoming a hero. Burns stomps the ground, which sends Shinra flying back and then welcomes all the rookies to the training. An unknown fighter calls somebody to tell them that the infernalization will move on without a hitch. Habana meets up with Obi and Hinawa and shares that her research has revealed that an insect enters the bodies of people, which causes artificial infernalization. Shinra wakes up and sees Hinawa outside his window, who comes to visit him daily. He reassures him that everything well in Hinawa, then goes off to meet with Habana. She tells him that artificial infernals seem to appear at close off sites which are accessible only to firefighters. At breakfast, Takeru asks the other rookies about their reason to become fighters, which makes Shinra and Arthur start their yapping as usual. Tamaki also starts to scold them, and just then the alarm rings, signaling an infernal attack. Everyone heads off with their lieutenants while Shinra and Arthur head to the site with Karim, who instructs them to be on the standby. Soon, Shinra spots somebody releasing an insect on a civilian, which instantly causes the civilian to combust. So he rushes to find the perpetrator and comes across Karim and Rekka. He stops Arthur from saying anything and makes an excuse to the lieutenants about their presence. Tamaki then reports that all the infernals have been dealt with. Closing the matter later, Shinra and Arthur decide to investigate their two suspects, so they head to Karim's room. First, Shinra reveals that he has bribed Takeru to distract Karim in exchange for Tamaki's number, and Arthur then uses a mini Excalibur to break inside Karim's room like a seasoned thief. They break open his drawer where they find a bottled-up insect, and just then, Karim steps inside. He reveals that he planted the insect to lure them in because of their earlier suspicious behavior, and that he wants to find the owner of the insect too. Judging by their behavior, he concludes that Rekka must be their target since he was the only one present at the site beside him. He reveals that he found the insect at a site where many children suddenly combusted. Meanwhile, Tamaki approaches two children and asks them to come with her. She leads them to a factory where Rekka preaches to a group of children that his prayers can protect them against flames. The creep hugs Tamaki so tightly that she falls down unconscious and then lets loose an insect on the children's mother, which makes her turn into an ugly infernal. He knocks her down immediately. Meanwhile, Karim heads out to search for Rekka, and Shinra and Arthur follow him. Tamaki wakes up and starts whining about respecting Rekka, so he punches her and knocks her down again. He announces that he will find somebody compatible for the pilot light and again kicks her, when she calls him a good-for-nothing bastard. He then releases an insect on a child called Nataku, who starts to scream as flames surround him. Shinra, meanwhile, tries to find Rekka from the air, and just then, Nataku absorbs all the flames and falls down unconscious. Rekka celebrates finding someone compatible for the pilot light and then heads to the other children to check their compatibility as well, which makes Tamaki start yapping about her feelings again. She releases some flames, which Shinra notices from the air, and Rekka starts to beat her up for being a good-for-nothing woman. Just as Rekka is about to nerf her, Shinra lands on his face and asks Tamaki whether she's okay. Rekka gets up again and punches Shinra away. They exchange blows while yapping about their ideals, and Tamaki is surprised to see Shinra going toe-to-toe with Rekka. Rekka notices that the insect is reacting to Shinra's flames and instantly becomes happy, commenting that he is lucky to find the third person that the Evangelist is looking for. He yaps about the undefiled flame called the Italiburst, which they have been searching for, which can only be born by the spawn of the Great Cell. He continues his explanation that he has been roasting children for a long time in search of the Adala flame, and that he finally found someone. Shinra flies toward him in anger but gets punched away, and luckily hits Tamaki's milkers. He tries to play it off, and Rekka shows off his firepower, which burns away Tamaki's clothes. Shinra tries to give his eyes a treat but gets punched away by Rekka again and falls on Tamaki for the second time. Tamaki tells him to focus on the fight and requests him to defeat Rekka with his new motivation. Shinra sends Rekka flying into the air and then uses his superior mobility to stomp Rekka to the ground. Tamaki gathers the children and Shinra reveals that he is useless since he has overused his pyrokinesis. Rekka gets back up after experiencing Shinra's foot in his mouth, and Shinra questions his motive behind turning kids into infernals. He spills some words of wisdom that their objective is to turn Earth into the second sun because one isn't enough for them. Tamaki tries to evacuate the children, and Shinra realizes that they might have taken his brother Shu away too. Rekka conjures up his remaining flame to burn everyone alongside him, but his arms freeze just as Karim arrives. Rekka tries to evaporate the ice, but Karim turns him into a popsicle. Lieutenant Huiyam from Company 1 enters the scene, and shortly after, a flame bullet passes through the frozen Rekka's heart, killing him. Two people in white are standing atop a building nearby, and one of them tries to shoot the remaining people as well. She misses the first shot, and Huiyan notices the second one coming for Karim, so he suddenly becomes Shanks and pushes Karim to the side at the cost of his own arm. Karim orders Shinra to create a smokescreen and tells him to locate the attackers. Shinra takes a peek and reveals that the attackers are standing on the building to the south, so Karim orders Tamaki to extend the flames toward the attackers. He then freezes the flames before they can reach the targets and comments that the attackers will freak out and retreat after seeing them doing illogical things. His prediction is on point as the two attackers retreat after this, and Karim thanks Shinra for the help. Shinra enjoys his peace back at the Company 8's cathedral, but is disturbed when he realizes that Tamaki is also there. Shouboutai reveals that she was suspended from her company because of her involvement in the case, so the Company 8 has decided to take her in. At the Holy Sol Temple, the Emperor orders the captains to assemble. Meanwhile, Obi sees that someone messed with his locker again. He goes on to scold Shinra, and Hibana tells him not to disturb Shinra. She says that she came here so they can go to the captain's conference together. And obviously, she did not come to give Shinra lunch. Shortly after, the whole office turns into a playground, and Hinawa couldn't be bothered any less. They head off to the conference with Shinra and Tamaki, because their reports are also needed, as they were directly involved in the face-off with the White-Clad organization. Obi reveals that this is a very big matter, as the captains have never gathered like this ever since he became one. Shinra is surprised to see Amaterasu, the perpetual thermal energy plant that produces all the energy for Tokyo. They're greeted by Karim, who says that he intends to work with the 8th Company because he wants to learn about what happened with Rekka. They head inside, and a masked man appears beside Hibana, who reminds her that she was on Hajima's side, but she brushes him off. The captains of the 8 companies are introduced one by one, and Obi is shocked to see that the 7th Company also came. Shinra looks at the captain of the 7th Company, Benimaru Shimen, who is said to be the strongest fire soldier of all time. The Emperor enters and orders all the companies to hunt down. The Evangelist Benimaru calls his words shit, and the others realize that he is a proto-nationalist. He walks out after saying that the 7th unit will do whatever it wants. Joker is standing atop the Amaterasu and wonders if he should go meet Shinra again. The Emperor asks Shinra about possessing an Atala burst, and Shinra says that Rekka was the one who told him this. He questions what an Atala burst is, and the Emperor explains that it's a promotion primordial flame that Saul used to create this world. He reveals that the Amaterasu also runs on an Adala burst, and the 3rd Company's captain Giovanni says that the Adala burst is no different from a normal flame scientifically, but the Evangelist might know the difference, so he will come for Shinra. He suggests keeping Shinra secure, but Obi says that the 8th Company will take the responsibility of Shinra's safety. They come back to their cathedral after the conference, but Shinra decides to stay back to look around Amaterasu. The Joker appears before him in peace and reveals that his brother is the commander of the Knights of Ashen Flame, working under the Evangelist. Shinra comes back to the office, and they all do desk work. Arthur turns pale from all the desk work, and Hinowa tells Shinra to come with him so they can make supper. He tells Shinra that he can trust them if something is bothering him, and Shinra says that everything is okay. Obi asks Hinowa about Shinra, and Hinowa replies that there aren't any fragile members in the ape. While eating then, Shinra notices that everyone is worried about him, so he decides to tell them about his meeting with Joker. Obi consoles him, and Hinowa says that they will make their strategy based on the fact that Shu is still alive. The men in white recite their prayers while a white-haired man sits on the throne in a Company 8 meeting. Maki asks Obi about their company's origins, and he asks Hinowa to narrate the story. In the past, Hinowa works in the Imperial Armed Forces with his friend Tojo and even knows Mac. He tells Tojo that although Maki is General O's daughter, she trains harder than anyone else despite being Daddy's planted girl. When Tojo asks him to baptize his gun for Saul's sake, he refuses as he's a faithless heathen. Later, Tojo turns into an infernal and begs Hinawa to kill him before he goes berserk, but Hinawa hesitates to off his friend with an unbaptized gun. Just as Tojo turns into a skewered roast, the other fighters rush in and shoot at him. Much later, Obi, who is a firefighter, reports to the Special Fire Forces about two infernals, and he notices that the fighters seem to be focusing more on points rather than the infernals. The force's captain asks his team to go for the wild infernal while leaving the other infernal, who is sitting silently enduring his pain. Hinawa sees the scene unfold as Obi challenges the captain and asks him why he wouldn't divide his team to deal with both the infernals. The captain informs him that to boost his team's morale, he has a point system to kill the wild and infernals first, which angers Obi since he believes that putting down the infernals should be their priority. With the other infernal's wife's permission, he heads to kill the infernal himself and gets joined by Hinawa. They both enter the infernal's house and Hinawa shares his sob story about Tojo. Obi tells him that they use the prayers to bring salvation to the infernals, and Hinawa volunteers to shoot the infernal, who is sitting calmly like Buddha. As they both chant the prayers, Hinawa shoots at the infernal, ending his life outside. They both compliment each other for having courage, and Obi declares that he's going to establish a fire force company which he'd like Hinawa to join. They both form the company, and Hinawa then suggests inviting Maki because of her kind nature. Obi also recalls that their first Company 8 mission involved an infernal dressed in white clothes who was killed easily, but his case was very strange. He then reveals that the infernal was killed in Asakusa, which is Company 7's territory. Meanwhile, the Nimrod Kinru walks through Asakusa like he's the doc. He gives his two twin officers called Hinata and Heikage some sweets, and his Lieutenant Conro informs him that Company 8 plans to investigate him. He tells him to ignore them, but just then, Company 8 arrives at his doorstep. Obi tells Benimaru about the Evangelist's objective of creating artificial infernals, but he just calls it an imperial propaganda and tells them to buzz off. Shinra challenges him. Just then, the bell rings, signaling a fire, and beneath, Nimaru rushes off. He throws him a toy in the air, which blows away all the houses. He then jumps towards the infernal and people throw matois at him, which he ignites and then throws them all at the infernal again. Many houses get blown away, and Conro reveals that Benimaru can use second and third generation abilities, making him a compound soldier. Benimaru then pierces the infernal's core with his land, laying him to rest, and a citizen tells Shinra that they want Benimaru to lay rest to the infernals since he's their demolition king of Asakusa Company. 8 witnesses the ongoing festival after the infernal's death, and Hinoa says that it must be their special way of mourning. The 8 helps with the repairs based on their own specialties, and they get along with the members of the 7. Meanwhile, members of the White-Clad organization talk about how the Evangelist has ordered the destruction of the 8th, so they prepare loads of insects for this purpose. But Nimaru puts bandages on Conro and says that he should have been the captain. Conro says that someone who can't fight should not be the captain. While Hikawa and Hina enter the room, Shinra enters behind them and tells them that he was playing with them, but hopefully the girls are over 18. He sees Conro's injuries and takes the girls outside. Conro advises Benimaru to agree with their investigation as they are good people, and Benimaru accepts his proposition. He comes outside and Shinra asks him about Conro's injury, which leads Benimaru to explain that he overused his powers which caused his body to burn, also known as Tu. Shinra tells him that he came here because Obi wanted to meet with Benimaru and tells him Obi's location. Shinra and Maki then wonder whether the negotiation will succeed and about how the 5th is holding the fort down in their absence. Benimaru overhears Obi and Hinoa discussing how they created an artificial infernal and will continue to create more in Asakusa. Benimaru starts attacking them in anger, and Obi and Hinoa come out of the smoke wondering why Benimaru is attacking them. He accuses them of creating infernals, and they try to convince him with words, but nothing works. The 8th Company gathers and tries to convince him that he is mistaken about something, and he tells them to prove their motive after defeating him. 2 people in white coats looking like Obi and Hinawa witness the whole commotion and talk about how they successfully pranked Benimaru. The real Obi retreats while the rest of the squad fight Benimaru, but he knocks them down one by one. He performs a special move and swings his hand in the air. Boy is laughing like crazy as his attack hits Hinoa and Arthur. After a while, with the whole squad down, Obi appears again all suited up and rushes into Benimaru's attacks with a shield. He reveals that he doesn't have any powers and goes into close combat with Benimaru. Obi continues to deploy extinguisher grenades, but Benimaru pins him down and creates explosions on his face. Obi's training with David Goggins doesn't disappoint as he manages to land a headbutt on Benimaru, shocking all the useless spectators. Conro arrives at the scene and stops Benimaru right before he is about to unleash his final attack. He falls to his knees after using his pyrokinesis to stop Benimaru and requests him to hear out what the ape has to say. The fight settles down and the bedridden Conro asks them what they were doing when Benimaru saw them. Obai and Hinala explain that they were at the general store far from where Benimaru saw them and don't remember telling Shinra to call Benimaru. Benimaru leaves to ask around the general store to check if they are telling the truth while Shinra asks Conro about his injury. The story goes back to the solar year 196 before Bunmaru and Conro officially joined the Fire Force. Many infernalizations occurred in a single night all over Asakusa, and they both reached their limits after fighting for a while. A devil-looking infernal appears at that time and Conro pushes Benimaru to the side, which knocks him out. He decides to fight the infernal all alone because he believes that this isn't the time for Benimaru to die. Benimaru wakes up when the sun rises and he sees Conro carbonized. He says that if they had fought together, then Conro wouldn't have suffered so much, but Conro replies that he can't let Benimaru die in a place like this. The captain of the 4th, so Akira Hive, arrives and informs them that they have been formally inducted as the new Company 7. Conro questions the point of being the 7th, and so Akira replies that they will be supported financially with the best equipment and personnel. Conro tells him that he needs some time to decide, and so Karo leaves after saying that he hopes for a positive response. Benimaru is against the idea of working for the Empire, but Conro points out that they could have reduced the damage if they had the Empire's support back in the present. Conro says that he is willing to sacrifice his useless life for Benimaru anytime, and Shinra replies that no life is useless, so Conro should use Shinra whenever he needs. Conro gets up to help in the investigation too, and Company 8 tags along outside. Benimaru witnesses the townspeople fighting amongst themselves due to mistaken identities, and Conro witnesses the twins fighting each other. They both accuse each other of being fake, and Arthur jumps forwards, kneeing Hika to the wall. He says that the Hika he hit is an old man, but they all beat him up for saying something so ridiculous. Hika's face suddenly starts transforming and an old man appears from underneath. Meanwhile, a crazy-looking person uses his flames to change people's face, but blows up the person's face because he does not like it. Another girl in white calls the crazy man Yona and says that they are ready to release the insects again. Infernals start popping up all over Asakusa, and the people in white wonder if they will find someone compatible or will a demon be born again. Shinra says that they should deal with the Infernals, but Obi stops them and says that the proto-nationalists don't wish to be put to rest according to the Imperial way. A sniper shot suddenly hits near them and Shinra realizes that it's the same person from Rekka's case. Shinra and Arthur head towards the sniper and another sniper shot targets Shinra, which makes him realize that the sniper is on the move. He flies toward the sniper while Arthur follows on foot, and Conro tries to make the old man spill some information, but the old man turns into an infernal. Kanawa shoots it down before it can do anything, and Obi informs Conro that the people are not listening to them, so they need someone to lead them. Shinra encounters the archer who has another person protecting her, and Arthur also arrives. The 2 versus 2 fight starts, but Shinra and Arthur are unable to coordinate properly, so Shinra suggests that they should move in a formation. They step up their game and start to get the upper hand, but the hood guy eats an insect, fully savoring its taste. Benimaru encounters an infernal on the bridge and swiftly puts it to rest by piercing its heart. Conro and Benimaru meet up at the top of a tower, and Conro tells him that the townspeople need to hear his words to calm down. But Nimaru tries to convince Conro to lead everyone, but Conro tells him that he needs to make up his resolve and lead everyone. But Nimaru finally realizes what he is supposed to do and tells Conro to climb down the tower, as he will start doing what he is best at, which is demolishing everything. Yona sees the chaos and rejoices, but suddenly, the tower starts flying up into the air, which attracts everyone's attention. But Nimaru tells everyone that there are outsiders posing as townsfolk and directs everyone to start beating each other up. Because the people of Asakusa cannot be beaten by outsiders, he orders Company 7 to deal with the fires while the people deal with the outsiders, and the Royal Rumble begins. Meanwhile, the hood guy transforms into an infernal with horns, and the female archer calls him a demon. As members of the 7th Company move out to deal with the infernals, Benimaru notices the demon, and Shinra finds the demon similar to the one that appeared 12 years ago in his home, and his trauma starts acting up again. The female archer takes off her mask and says that Shinra just made an Adal a link with the demon, but boy, she is pretty. She tells Shinra that he doesn't belong in the Fire Force, as his flames are the one that will exterminate mankind. Arthur gets his ass handed to him by the demon, and so does Shinra. But Benimaru appears right on time. He tells them to step back as he will defeat the demon. And simultaneously, 8th Company finds Heika beating up a person because he was pretending to be Hina. But Nimaru easily deals with the demon's attacks and tries to land a fatal blow, but is unable to penetrate him. He decides to take the demon into the air so that he can use his full power without destroying the town. Conro notices the sniper aiming at Benimaru and attempts to use his powers, but falls down in pain instead. He recalls Shinra's words and shouts his name. His voice reaches Shinra, who feels his legs acting weird, and he notices the arrow approaching Benimaru. He flies into the air and uses his full power to reach the arrow, but fails to deflect it. He recalls the female archer's words and shouts that he will prove that he is a hero. He uses the imaginary power of his will to deflect the arrow, and Benimaru compliments him, which is probably the start of their bromance. Benimaru's Matuas hit the demon and he uses his special attack, but it doesn't deal any damage either. He uses his full power to land a palm attack which blows the demon into pieces, and everyone is shocked to see that a single man caused such an explosion. Aona and the female archer retreat, and Shinra grab the falling Benimaru like a princess, because that's what Hero does. Yona and the archer come back to their hideout where they report to their commander Shu about the new demon and the Atala link that Shinra had with the demon. Sho says that he wants the Atala link no matter what and will go with them the next time. Obai argues about getting supplementary crew members and argues that they have been getting help from Company 5 on forensic matters, but the newly assigned member, Victor Licht, informs them that he was sent by Hajime as they cannot take help from another company for long. Victor reminds them that they also don't have an engineer, so their equipment might end up in a ditch soon. Obai reveals that they are trying to recruit Vulcan, which Habana surprises, and Shinra asks them who Vulcan. Habana explains that he's a genius engineer, but everyone who's tried to hire him has gotten rejected because he hates Hajime and the Fire Force. Obai tells Shinra, Arthur, and Iris to head to Vulcan's workshop in normal attire to try and hire him for Company 8. They arrive at Vulcan's workshop, but no one responds, and Arthur announces that they are fire soldiers. The door opens. Anakin hits Shinra and Arthur, which infuriates them. A little kid appears behind them and politely asks them why they're here. Shinra introduces himself, and the kid guesses that they must be here to recruit his master. The door opens and Vulcan tells them to leave because he won't help fire soldiers. The kid called Yu says that he will hear them out and explains that Vulcan hates Hajime, while Hajime has cut off Vulcan's supply line to pressure him into joining them. Shinra guarantees that Company 8 isn't like the other companies and Vulcan should hear them out at least once, so Yu decides to take them inside the workshop, where they meet Lisa, who lives with Volca. She scolds Yu for letting fire soldiers in, and Shinra and Arthur are shocked to see Vulcan's speed. Vulcan kicks away the machine in joy, and Shinra asks him why he's destroying the machine he just created. Vulcan explains that he doesn't make fragile machines and throws cans at them again because he is sick of fire soldiers coming to his workshop. The alarm rings and Vulcan goes out to meet the visitor, who turns out to be Giovanni. They talk like it's not their first meeting, and Giovanni mocks Vulcan's dreams, which seem to be related to animals. Giovanni warns him to join Company 3, where he can get all the materials he wants, but Vulcan rejects his offer and asks if Giovanni will kill him, just like his father and grandfather. Giovanni feigns ignorance and Vulcan calls him a traitor. Their boring argument ends after a while, and Vulcan returns to the workshop, where Shinra informs him that his job is to investigate the other companies. He proclaims that he wishes to save as many lives as possible and requests Vulcan to help him. Arthur and Iris suddenly start messing up with different machines, which makes Vulcan laugh, and he decides to show them something. They move outside and Vulcan activates his machine, which transforms the surroundings into an ocean. Different animals from the past are displayed one by one that have gone extinct in this world, and Vulcan explains that his goal is to create an energy source that will bring back animal life on Earth. Everyone is impressed, and Shinra tells him that he will love the 8th Company, so he should meet the captain once Vulcan rejects his offer and says that he will never join someone related to Hajime. Lisa sighs and explains to Shinra and the group that Vulcan is a very kind person that took her in, but he hates Hajime and is suspicious of Giovanni regarding his father and grandfathers, as she adds that Giovanni was an apprentice of Vulcan's grandfather, but his grandfather and father turned into infernals on the same day, and Giovanni joined Hajime shortly after, even though his grandfather forbade any relations with Hajime. Lisa tells them that they should leave now, but Shinra suddenly senses Giovanni's hostile intent and his leg starts glitching again. Arthur suggests that they should go back, but Shinra says they need to stay here. Vulcan offers a drink to his parents' grave and tells them he has his comrades to help him, which seems like a weird flex in front of dead people. He then breaks Yu's prototype to test it out and tells him how a Matarasu would never break. During lunch, he preaches to Lisa and Yu about how he wants to form bonds like his grandfather and father that never break. Shinra tells Iris and Arthur about Shivani's intention to kill Vulcan. And when Iris asks whether his Adola link is helping him spew such bullcrap, he tells her that although he doesn't know, but he's going to believe in his intuition. Shinra then tells Iris and Arthur to warn Vulcan, while he flies off to this guy to detect Giovanni first. Meanwhile, Giovanni orders the Evangelists to take out Vulcan while Arthur and Iris warn Vulcan, but he doesn't believe them. Arthur tries to persuade him that his ties with Hajime may be the reason for the attack. Just as the KKK group gathers around Vulcan's workshop, Giovanni lands a surprise attack on Shinra and decides to abduct him for the Evangelists. He uses a flying hand to attack Shinra, and Shinra uses the hand to locate him. Giovanni then attacks him from behind and electrocutes him, which knocks Shinra out. He makes a report to someone and decides to take Vulcan out. Next, Arthur reveals to Vulcan that he doesn't feel much like a knight, and Vulcan begins to engineer something knightly to motivate his useless bum. Arthur then steps out the workshop wearing a donkey head on his crotch and a blue cape. He channels all his knightliness and conjures up a flame that's even brighter than his usual sword flame. Using the sword, he blows away all the KKK minions, which were in fact an illusion, leaving behind only 2 Evangelists. A fat Evangelist summons up a fire weapon and attacks Arthur, but he defends himself easily even when the second Evangelist keeps attacking him with clones. The second Evangelist makes a clone of Arthur instead, which confuses him as he looks at himself looking like a lame fool. He gets distracted and the fatso Evangelist blows him away with his attack, which also breaks Arthur's donkey. He gets up, although his firepower is low without his donkey, and prepares to fight the Evangelists again. Meanwhile, Vulcan asks Lisa and Yu to escape from the back and tells them he doesn't want to leave Arthur behind, even if he's a brainless fool. He reveals to Lisa that Hajime has taken everything from him, including the Amaterasu that his forefathers have built. Lisa suddenly turns psycho on hearing this, and she knocks down Vulcan. She also knocks away Yu and reveals that it wasn't a coincidence that Vulcan had taken her in. She then asks Vulcan about the Amaterasu key's location and reveals that she's also an Evangelist. She warns him to hand the key over before Giovanni barbecues him, and this makes Vulcan tease her that maybe she cares about him after all. Arthur begins to slow down from all the fighting, while Giovanni smoothly slides in the workshop and taunts Vulcan about being too naive. He then chokes Hugh and even stabs him, which makes Vulcan beg him to stop all the madness. Vulcan tells him that he doesn't know the key's location, and suddenly Giovanni loses it, so he starts thrashing Vulcan. He then breaks his projector, making Vulcan fall into despair. Tabana finds Shinra in the forest and reveals she was spying on Iris using an insect and releases Shinra the monkey. Shinra blasts off like a freshly freed slave after she undoes his bindings and quickly reaches the workshop. Inside, Giovanni finds the key to Amaterasu inside the projector he just broke, but Shinra arrives just in time to stop him and knees the masked idiot like a UFC fighter. Shinra is surprised to see that Lisa has switched teams and tries to help up Vulcan. Outside help arrives for Arthur, who is in the process of getting whooped by the Evangelists in the form of Habana. Lisa attacks Shinra with her magnetic flames and manages to catch him. Seeing this, Vulcan instructs Iris to press random buttons on the wall, which cause the animatronics to fall from the ceiling. Lisa's flames glitch due to the magnetic fields generated by the machines, and Shinra is freed once again. He instantly takes this chance and starts clashing with Giovanni, kicking him out of the workshop. Just when things are about to get excited, 2 more Evangelists enter the scene. It is Shinra Kusakabe himself, and Shinra is ecstatic to see his brother, but fails to realize that Sho does not recognize their relationship. Sho is disgusted to know that Shinra is his brother and knocks him down swiftly in one blow. He declares that Shinra will be taken by the Evangelists. When Arthur tries to intervene, Sho slices his chest like a game of Fruit Ninja using his sword, as things look grim for Company 8. Victor arrives and helps everyone escape in a truck, while Vulcan picks up Arthur and Shinra. Vulcan tries to convince Lisa to join them, but she refuses. Sho appears right in front of the truck in order to stop them, but Joker joins the game and holds him back. As the truck leaves, Shinra promises to come back and save Sho. After a small scuffle, Joker dips from the scene like a smart player, revealing that they both sustain minor injuries. They reach the hospital and Shinra informs Obi about the events over phone, while Vulcan decides to stay with the 8th Company for the time being due to safety. Habana gets suspicious of Victor's perfect timing and warns him that if he's working alongside the Evangelists, she'll turn him into burnt toast. Soon, Arthur and Yu's injuries heal and Vulcan takes refuge at the 8th Company. Shinra resolves to protect his younger brother, wishing to bring him back. Vulcan is surprised by the 8th Company's friendly attitude during dinner, feels as if they are normal people after all. During dinner, Obi formally invites him to join the 8th Company. The next day, Shinra and Arthur take Vulcan back to the workshop area. In the wrecked area, he pops open 2 cold ones in front of the tomb of his ancestors. He apologizes for breaking the family promise to never join the Fire Force, but bows to make the world a better place and confront their family curse of making Amaterasu, and with that, Company 8 successfully acquires their engineer. After some small ups and downs, Karen, Hibana, and Conroe gather together in front of Company 8 to share information about the investigation. Shinra and Tameki meet them at the door and guide them in. Inside, Karim jokingly suggests that he sit on the floor after he sees Hibana sitting on top of the couch to avoid being at the same level of Company 1. She takes it literally, and he has no choice but to put his bum on the concrete. They start to discuss details surrounding the Evangelists, and Karim wonders whether Rekka was looking for someone with special abilities when he was having a roast party with the children. They discuss how the Company 3 is outraged and are attempting to cover up the events by using a scapegoat for Javen. Obi reveals that he has assigned Victor the task of finding the enemy's base, which Hibana finds sus. Meanwhile, Victor meets up with Joker, who is surprised to see him fitting in so well. Joker tells him that the 8th has no chance against the Evangelists in their current state and asks Victor to devise a plan to enhance Shinra's flames. On the other hand, Conroe tells Obi that he knows just the right guy to train the rookies. The fighting junkie Benimaru enters the scene, but only as a teacher. This time, Arthur and Shinra meet up with Benimaru while Vulcan reveals his newest creation, a magnetic ball called Iron Owls that extinguishes flames using magnetic waves. The boys start training with Benimaru, but he easily deflects their attacks as they spar. He says that they're bums and have no chance of even getting one hit on him, but Nimaru explains that what they're missing is a special move that makes maximum use of their strengthen. Victor joins them and proposes a way to power up Shinra. He suggests using a method called flame propulsion, which involves focusing the flames in one direction. Benimaru shows his aura and gives a visual representation of it with ease. With Arthur, Benimaru says that his special move is his ability itself and tells him to keep sparring with him to improve his fundamentals. Conroe shows distress towards Victor since he's a former Hajima employee and warns him that he'll fry him in case he does some funny business. While watching Arthur and Benimaru practice, Shinra wonders how Benimaru does his magic in order to get a clue to finish his special move. At Company 8, Vulcan works on improving firefighting gear and creates support weapons for Splutter and Flare, which are Maki's 2 flames. Shinra tries to emulate the Nimaru's style of fire control but fails miserably. Since Shorty ain't built like that, the Nimaru reveals to Shinra the ancient martial arts of hand signs and how each hand for formation has a specific use and meaning. Using one of these formations, Shinra sees instant results as he is able to compress the flames of his feet. The quick learner puts this new wisdom into effect and becomes Superman as he flies off with increased speed and fire concentration. After Benimaru beats Shinra and Arthur like an Asian dad after a bad day, he asks Shinra about the name of his final move and then rejects his cringe suggestion. The next day, Arthur begins training with a katana to learn new fencing techniques. As Shinra perfects his flames, while training with Benimaru, Shinra experiences a deeper connection with his brother. After acquiring this new strength and resolves to protect it, a group of evangelists gather with Giovanni in front of Sho, and he informs him that the 8th Company is close to uncovering their base. Sho says that they will stand on business if they do end up showing up, because they'll be bringing the boy with Adala Link with them. Shinra remembers his childhood memories with Sho where he promised to protect him even if he was taken to the Nether. Obi, with Victor's help, informs Company 8 about the lead found in Vulcan's workshop, which indicates that the Evangelists are hiding in the Nether. Pyrrhus describes the Nether as a dark and dirty place where not even sunlight reaches, and Victor reveals that it's actually the old subway tunnels beneath the Tokyo Empire. Obi decides that they will run the fade with the subway rats. The next day, in a dream, Shinra sees a woman resembling Iris and feels a special bond with her before being abruptly awakened. The next day, Company 8 heads to the Nether with special permission, since normally it's banned. Iris reminds everyone how much of a loser she is because of her fear of Nether. The door to the Nether opens up on its own as if inviting the crew in, but it's just Vulcan who pressed the switch. Once inside, Maki lights the way with her powers. Yona and Mirage are ready for them and create a distraction of smoke that fills the area. The smoke creates copies of all of them, which cause chaos and the group, making all of them split up. Sho's informed of the progress and he orders Assault the Slaughterer to be sent after them. Iris faces a sticky situation where she finds herself with 2 Tamekis. One of them is the clear imposter, but the airhead has a hard time telling the difference. Just then, The real Tamaki loses her footing, and all of her clothes stay bye-bye, which makes Iris realize that she's the true one. The clone bolts off the scene and Assault arrives in front of them in her place. Meanwhile, Maki finds herself alone after the chaos and acts like a scared little girl in the dark. Suddenly, she is confronted by a group of the Evangelists, led by Flail. She regains her composure since only ghosts scare her. She takes care of the NPCs one by one with the help of her new technology prepared by Vulcan, and her flames also help her out in their brand new battle armor. She handles a few of them using the devices, but the rest are easily taken care of using her Lady Bip Moon strength. Only Flail is left and he attacks her. After activating his powers, she is pushed back, but with the help of her devices, she makes a comeback and deals meaty blows to Flail. Flail is on his last toes, but she finishes the job using her fists and knocks the Evangelist into a deep sleep. On the other hand, Tamaki fights off against Assault. After telling Iris to take cover, she notices that Assault is a third generation just like her, but he seems to overpower her as if in a hurry. Tamaki recalls a pretty conversation with the company 8 members, and the power of friendship motivates her to get back up on her feet and fight. She deflects his big attack and lands her rocket straight into his palm. Her distinguishing talents distract Assault, and Iris takes the opportunity to strike Assault with a metal pipe. Together, they beat the heck out of Assault and walk away feeling like their bond has grown. Hinowa gets attacked by Arrow, the female archer, and has no idea where she is attacking from due to the darkness, so she tells him to hand Shinra over to them. Meanwhile, Shinra finds Victor being held hostage, and that person threatens Shinra to join them, but Victor signals Shinra to use his new move. Shinra moves at a high speed, kicking the person away, and he names the new move Rapid, which is very creative. Simultaneously, Hinawa and Arrow have a long-range battle, but Hinawa is unable to pinpoint her location. He moves forward to engage in close combat while Yomina and the KKK minion observe the fight from the sidelines. Arrow spreads her arrows, which deals critical damage to Hinawa. And their boring talk about ideals starts. He gets pumped and takes out a new weapon with very high-level damage. They all get shocked by how powerful each shot is, but they realize that Hinawa has to change the barrel after each shot. Arrow also gets damaged by the wide range of impact, and they both shoot at each other at the same time, which knocks them away. They get up again and shoot at each other. But this time, Hinawa uses Arrow's flames to spare beat up his own shot, which turns Arrow into dinner. Hinawa gets exhausted and the spectators appear to finish him off while he can't move. He then launches a bullet from his thumb, which passes through Mirage, but it turns out to be a clone. They mock his final struggle, but Arthur jumps down from the destroyed ceiling. Hinawa explains that he saw Arthur looking from the ceiling, so he opened the way for him. Mirage uses his one and only skill again, but Arthur is not affected by it and he listens to the breathing pattern of a hostile attack. According to Banamaru's teaching, Arthur senses his breath and slices toward Hinawa's direction, which seems like an accident. But turns out Mirage was standing behind Hinawa, ready to stab him. They notice that Yona has already fled the scene, so they get up to look for the other members. Iris and Tamaki get scared by 2 demonic eyes, but it's just Maki and her 2 pets. Meanwhile, Obi and Vulcan encounter Giovanni and Lisa. So Vulcan starts flirting with Lisa because that's the best way to resolve things. Giovanni reminds Lisa that he taught her everything, which allowed her to get close to Vulcan. Lisa introduces herself as Feeler, Knight of the Ashen Flame. And Obi mocks Giovanni for being a crappy teacher. Giovanni decides to flex a bit and says that the Evangelist knows everything from why the human combustion occurs and what happened to Earth in the past, but says that he won't tell Obi anything. Obi and Vulcan struggle in Lisa's tentacles. And Giovanni, who's got nothing better to do, reveals that Lisa is very compatible with insects. Lisa then shares her sob story, which nobody asked for, that her parents died in an Infernals fire. But due to the insects, she no longer fears the flames. Now Obi and Vulcan use their suits to escape and Obi rushes at her, but her tentacles automatically block his attack due to magnetism. Obi then keeps rushing at her with his fire extinguisher, but Lisa keeps throwing him back. Finally, he pushes a button which blows off extinguisher grenades that Obi was secretly placing under Lisa's tentacle. Lisa's flames get snuffed out, causing her to fall down, but Vulcan catches her and Lisa starts crying. Giovanni reminds Lisa who her actual daddy is, so she walks back to him. He takes her hostage and asks Vulcan to shoot Obi to save her life. Obi asks Vulcan to shoot him to save Lisa, and after an hour-long whining session, Vulcan shoots Obi and he falls down. Giovanni releases Lisa and starts laughing like a psycho, but Obi suddenly gets up and rips off train tracks. Vulcan flexes that he would never let Obi go to the battlefield unprotected, revealing that Obi's wearing a bulletproof vest made by him. Vulcan transforms into second-rate Iron Man and charges at Giovanni, breaking his armor. He then rushes to Lisa's side while Obi tries to stop Shivani from attacking. Shivani explains that 250 years ago, there was a release of a massive Atala burst which caused the Age of Cataclysm, and that before that people always lived in its fear. He then goes to spill some retarded crap that going against human combustion is going against the natural order, and when Obi tells him that they worship a made-up evangelist, he tells him that the evangelist is not an idol and that Shinra may be starting to realize the truth. Meanwhile, Shinra seems to be on crack as he gets hallucinations of a dark, weird place and a demon. He even sees his mother and Sho in his visions, and when he snaps back, he sees Devil's footsteps on the train tracks, which he decides to follow. Shivani reveals that Shinra must be connecting with Sho through his Atala burst, and that Atala burst flame is even beyond pyrokinetic and even the pilot light that causes human combustion. He also explains that insects may have originated from Atala burst too. Shinra reaches Sho and mentions being his brother, which disgusts Sho. Shinra rushes to his side and asks him not to speak ill of their mother. Just then, the two disappear in a flash of light and Devil's footsteps start to appear around Victor. Suddenly, both the brothers appear with Shao's blade pinned. Besides Victor and Shinra trying to block Sho's attack. They both then go at each other, and a battle of Goku versus Vegeta begins where they keep attacking and blocking each other. Shu stabs the floor with his sword, pausing the time, and then attacks Shinra, which sends him flying back. Shinra manages to get up despite the damage, while Giovanni leaves Lisa behind and takes his leave. Sho comments that they both belong to different universes and again stops time to attack Shinra, which sends him flying back again. Victor realizes that Sho is using heat to expand the universe, and just then, Shu activates an Atala link which engulfs Shinra. Yona reports to someone that Sho and Shinra have made contact, and he gets startled when another one of his subordinates, Hemiya, appears behind him. She says that she's surprised to see that someone else except her and Sho also possess the Atala burst. Meanwhile, Sho explains to Shinra that he can see the scene around them due to the Atala link, and this burning place is the Atala burst. Shinra questions how someone like him, who is from Earth, has something from another dimension, and Sho replies that the Atala burst can affect everything. Shinra is still confused about what's going on, and Sho says that this place is the underworld of Atala, also called Hell. A white angelic figure appears behind Sho, and Sho introduces it as the Evangelist he follows. They return to the real dimension, and Sho says that he can also affect everything thanks to the grace of the Evangelist, which is why Shinra's Atala burst cannot compare to his own. Victor gaps about how Sho's ability allows him to mess with the thermal expansion of the universe, effectively stopping time. He informs Shinra that it doesn't matter how fast he is if time's not moving, but Shinra doesn't know science, so tries to fight again. Sho pokes Shinra with his sword again and again, and Sho gets angry, so announces that they will play a game of tag. Sho has had enough of his yapping and beats him up ruthlessly. The only thing Shinra knows is how to take a beating. The Atala link shows Shu some of Shinra's memories, and Shinra manages to scratch Shu thanks to the Atala link. Shu uses his special move, Severed Universe, to land a critical hit, but Shinra doesn't give up and continues to get beaten up. He yaps about how Shu is his little brother and uses his full power to accelerate towards Shu, suddenly disappearing, even though Shu uses his abilities to stop time. He looks around but starts freezing, so he activates his abilities, and Shinra hits a pillar behind him. Shinra brags about how he is getting closer to Sho's speed, and Sho gets flashbacks of Shinra's memories again. Shinra has no idea how he was able to disappear, but Victor uses his big brain to deduce that Shinra's body turned into particles even moving at high speed, but doesn't understand how his body reconstructed. Shinra hits another pillar because he is unable to control his speed, and Victor notices that Shu is unable to react. So his big brain time starts again, which makes him realize that Shinra is moving faster than the speed of light, which is causing his time to move backward, returning his body to the original state. Victor realizes that Shinra might create a black hole at this rate, which destroy the Empire too, but he stays silent about all this information. Shu activates his abilities to stop Shinra before he can move, but he manages to move in the motionless world too and lands a hit on Sho. Shinra explains that his strong emotions allow him to force Annie at all link with Shu and allows him to use the Evangelist grace through Shu. Yona and Hamiya watch the whole fight, and Hamiya calls the phenomenon awakening of the fourth generation. Shinra and Shu continue the fight, but on equal footings this time. Even though Shinra is heavily injured, they appear and disappear while clashing in the air, and no one except Hamiya is able to tell what's happening. Shinra continues his dumb antics about being the older brother, but falls to his knees after throwing up blood. Victor explains all the information he had used to Shinra and says that Shinra will atomize and die if he overheats. While his time is stopped, Shinra starts smiling and says that it's because he is happy to be playing with Shu. Shinra gets up to fight again and declares that he won't die, otherwise he will be a failure as a brother. They clash again and Shinra continues to remind Sho about how they are brothers, which bothers Sho as he also gets flashbacks. Shinra rushes towards Shu and turns into particles, but suddenly Sho enters an imaginary world where he sees Shinra's traumatic life in which he was mocked by everyone for killing his brother and mother. He senses Shinra's emotions from that time, but still doesn't care much. Sho sees his own memories from 12 years ago that he had forgotten when he and Homiya were in front of the Evangelist. Shinra starts whining about his family issues, that their family used to smile openly 12 years ago, but now they both don't even know how to smile. Sho gets shocked to see his mother through Shinra's memories and recalls how Shinra used to care for him, which makes him cry. Shinra then pats his head and they hug each other. But when they return to the real world, Shinra finds himself turned into a meaty skewer because he couldn't control his speed. Himiya steps forward and explains that the Great Cataclysm 250 was a mistake. So they are gathering. The Adala bursts to create a successful cataclysm, this time which will destroy the world. Shu tries to stop her from taking Shinra, but his abilities do not work and she zaps him, which turns him into the Ice King again. Company 8 arrives to stop Hamiya from taking Shinra, but her abilities do not work on Arthur because his plasma interferes with her electrical current. However, none of the other members' abilities work on her and an earthquake shakes the whole nether. Hemiya says that it's the Evangelist doing before leaving and Sho leaves with her, so Company 8 decides to exit too. The earthquakes do not stop, and they take the half-dead Shinra to the best pyrokinetic doctor on the market, Captain Huang accompanies. The operation begins and Huang uses her abilities to heal Shinra. Outside, Obai explains to the members that Huang's abilities heal a patient by making use of the patient's own flames inside. Huang is impressed to see how incredible Shinra's flames are and says that it might take a few days for him to wake up. 3 days later, Shinra finally wakes up looking like he smokes crack. The first visitor he gets is Daddy Burns, who suggests having a talk about what happened 12 years ago. They move outside and Burns tells him that he knew everything from Sho to the Evangelist, which makes Shinra angry. Shinra grabs his collar and questions why he didn't say anything earlier, but Burns explains that 12 years have gone by, but Shinra still couldn't do anything, so there was no point in telling him all this earlier. He says that Shinra survived this time due to luck, but Shinra says that he is not the same as before, so Burns tells him to prove it though a spar. Later, Shinra returns to Company 8 Seconds Cathedral with Vulcan, who tells him not to act so down in front of the other members because it will cause them more worries. He greets Iris at the gate and they go inside, where Maki tells him that she is glad to have him back. They go to the office where Arthur is flying through the documents and somehow they start arguing again. Hinawa enters the room and tells Shinra to report to Obi, who congratulates Shinra on getting discharged. Rewinding a little, Burns and Shinra's supposedly friendly spar is underway and Shinra lets out his frustration through his legs. But he doesn't get through. Burns activates his ability, which prevents Shinra from getting close, and Lieutenant Oniemo calls Burns' body an embodiment of flame. Burns throws down words of wisdom which nobody asked for, that the weak lose their lives, which makes Shinra call him a liar. He decides to show that he is not weak, so he flies toward Burns but gets bounced away. He rushes at him again while spouting crappy dialogues and manages to bypass Burns' shield. He tries to use his full power to make Burns move, but Burns stops the fight and compliments him on getting so strong. He tells Shinra that the Evangelist was active 12 years ago too, and the cause of the fire was Sho. 12 years ago, Hamiya and another person forcefully awakened Sho's atoll, burst and turned their mother into a demon infernal. Shinra's powers also awakened due to Sho's atoll burst, and his mother tries to look for Sho, but she sees the Evangelist, which burns her eyes. Hamiya's subordinate explains to her that this is the reason why they blindfold, and Sho's mom drags her horns down to her eyes to stop the pain. Shinra is shocked to hear that the demon he has been chasing his whole life is actually his mother and asks what happened to her afterwards. Burns explains that he arrived 15 minutes later when Shinra was found by the door. He entered inside and came across the demon holding Sho, but then his eyes started to burn. The demon escaped on Hamiya's signal and the house fell apart. The demon brought Shu to Hamiya and Burns deduced everything to the Atala burst thanks to his eye. Burns noticed Shinra's ability but decided to lie to him because he wanted Shinra to fear the flames and stay away from the fire force so he can avoid the Evangelist's eyes. Shinra says that he still hates the flame for taking away his family, and Burns says that he has fulfilled his reason for visiting Shinra, but reveals that his right eye was the price he paid for seeing the flames of hell. Shinra asks him where his mom went and Burns replies that he never saw her again. So Shinra assumes that his mom might still be alive. He thinks he might be able to see her again through an Atala link, but has no idea how to do it. But he suddenly recalls that the captain of the 4th company, Sukaro, might know something about it. Lieutenant Haig tells Shinra to go back to his bed, and he finds her face very similar to Sukaro. He asks her whether she knows him, and she reveals that Sukaro is her grandfather, so he requests her to help him meet him later. Obai hears all these details from Shinra and says that he will try contacting Soakiro through the official channel as well. He asks Shinra what he will do if his mother really is alive, and Shinra says that he will find a way to turn an infernal back to a human. At night, they arrange a party to celebrate Shinra's discharge, but the war is still not over, and who knows what the Evangelist is planning. Thanks for watching. Want more Enen recaps? Subscribe to channels and turn on notification bell. See you later. Watch those next videos.